This is the second part of creating your design concept. Just some helpful information and tips within Civil 3D that will help you think about and map out your potential design draft. So let's start with that concrete slab. We know we need a concrete slab and it needs to be 40 feet by 70 feet. So this has to be a rectangle, and I think the best way of doing this is using the rectangle tool up here and clicking whatever point you think you want to be first, then actually specifying the dimensions. So you can see here, I can drag it to specify dimensions, but I can get exact dimensions if I type in 70 and then hit tab. If I hit tab, it brings me to the other field and I can click 40. And then now I have my 40 by 70 and I can hit enter, and then there's my slab. So I know this is how big it needs to be. Some other things I can do from here is right click it, or after selecting the object, right click it, and use your basic modify tools. This is how you can move it around to see what it might look like in different places. And this is also where, if you want to, you can rotate it. So if I go back to the basic modify tools, use the rotate tool, select the middle, I might think it actually looks better rotated like this, because now it's, sort of more aligned with O Hill and the sidewalk here. And it provides a little bit of a more interesting shape than being, exactly on the cardinal directions, which maybe doesn't make sense for the area here because everything's kind of on a slant. So maybe I want to follow that exact slant too. And I can put it here, put it here. I know people like to play spikeball and volleyball, so maybe I move this somewhere else actually. So maybe I want this to be over here. That's totally acceptable too. It's up to you to figure out what design you want and what trade-offs you're willing to make. So just keep that in mind. I'm just gonna keep mine here for now, but that doesn't mean yours has to or should be here either. So that's how you can kind of go about modeling your concrete slab. Now let's go to the retention pond. We know that the requirements are going to be that the pond has to be at least 900 square feet, but we weren't given a shape for that. So we can do whatever we want. We could do the same rectangle here. So maybe I make a rectangle and I know that 900 square feet is 30 by 30, right? So I could do that. That's what 900 square feet is looking like. I could also use a circle tool maybe. So I could create a circle until I get to 900 square feet. So that would be 300, about at least 17, 18 feet in radius, I think. And how can you check that? Well, if you actually go back and make your properties toolbar or side panel come up. I'm just gonna get rid of this too. I don't need this. So it just gives me a little bit more space. If I actually select the object, you can see in the geometry, it'll give you the area of your shape. So this is a really good way of kind of visualizing what a 900 square foot area looks like. Now, if I wanted to, and there's nothing stopping me, I could make my own shape. So I can go up here and use the polyline tool and specify a start point. And then I'm going to switch it to arcs by clicking A. You can see that here. Clicking A and enter. And now I can go through and start creating my pond. So I think this is a much more interesting shape. And now I'm just going to use C to close it. CL to close it. And then you can see this is what my pond looks like. I also think this might look a little bit better if it's rotated. So I'm going to click on this and rotate it. And maybe I want to move this so there's more space from the building as well. I mentioned that I might want a garden, some benches, maybe solar panels. So I'm just going to create some space for that. Now, if I click on this shape, you can see here the area is 3,600 square feet. Is that way bigger than 900 square feet? Yeah, it's 4 times bigger. But if that's what I want for my design, that's totally okay. Maybe you put benches, a walking path around this. And so having that larger feature helps your design and makes it more of a space that students would want to be in. So that's kind of what we're talking about with the design. It's really up to you. There's no right way or wrong way of doing this. It's up to how you look at constraints. The last thing we're going to look at is the sidewalk grading. We explained what grading was in the last video, but how do you actually know what grade you're dealing with here? You could just draw a line and go, oh, I think that's under a 5% grade, but is it really? Well, Civil 3D has a really easy way to check it. If you go up to the ribbon, we're going to go to the Annotate tab. We haven't done anything here yet, but this is a really good way of finding slopes. So if you go to the very left where the labels are and you open up that dialog box, you can see that there's a lot of inbuilt automatic labeling in Civil 3D for a bunch of different things. We're trying to find the slope of a surface, so we're going to use the surface labels and go to the slope label. You can see that you can create a 1-point or a 2-point slope label. A 1-point label is going to give you the instantaneous slope at a point. So this is very similar to like a derivative in calculus. The slope right here, this exact point, is 24%. And you can do that anywhere you want. I think the 2-point slopes are much more helpful. Here you can select 2 points and it will give you the slope between those points. So for example, maybe I want my sidewalk to go this way. Well, I can see that the slope is negative 3.5%, and that totally falls within the acceptable 5% limit. But what this doesn't show you is the slope at a smaller area. You have to remember this is an average of rise over run. So the longer you make it, it could be that your slope is showing as lower. So if I do the same thing, but I just make it smaller from here to here, for example, you can see that there's 0 slope, but then what if I do it from here to there? Now you can see that slope is negative 7%. So that's verging on the edge. I would have to put a rest stop here if I wanted to. Now, I just want to clarify, as you do this, you're never, or not never, but it's going to be very hard for you to find an exact path where the slope stays under 5% the whole time. And you also don't have to do that here. You're going to manually create the sidewalk elevation, so it doesn't have to conform to what the ground is right now. We're going to redo the grading and the surface elevation topography around your sidewalk. So even though it says a negative 7% here, if this is where I want my sidewalk to be, I just need to keep in mind that we're going to have to form the elevation and the topography around it. That's totally okay. What you shouldn't do, though, is make your sidewalk go somewhere like this. Even if you had to do the land around this, a negative 22% slope for the sidewalk is huge, and it's going to be impossible to fit the sidewalk in this area. It's going to have to slope all the way down here, and you have to create a whole new hill going up to that sidewalk for the grading, and so that's going to be really messy. This would be a great place to put a staircase in, but you need to have that ramp sidewalk for ADA accessibility. So yeah, use this if you want to. Another way you can do it is through feature lines, but we haven't covered those yet, so I would do this. This is the easiest way, in my opinion, to explore grade and think about what potential path you want and how much work that would be to regrade the site. Regrading means changing the topography. So if you have a really large change in elevation like this, we're going to have to smooth that out to be under 5%, so you're going to have to change the topography of the surrounding landscape a lot. All right, if you have any questions, put them in Piazza or come to office hours, and good luck with your design concept. Remember, at least for 2025, this is a 1-week deliverable, not 2 weeks.